Right now on Liquid Lunch, as you know, we bring on the guests that know where the rubber meets the road. And this guy knows where the rubber meets the road as good as anyone because he's joined us before. And the rubber meets the road right now in the middle of this pandemic with the COVID-19 virus. And George Santos joins us now. He's a Republican candidate for Congress and unfortunately was recently affected and diagnosed with the COVID. How are you, buddy? Thanks for joining us.
How's it going, John? Thank you so much for having me back. It was a wild ride from when I first came on to now, from being diagnosed and going through the severe symptoms of COVID-19. It was no walk in the park, but I've tested now, believe it or not, 3 additional times to confirm my negative result. I've also tested an additional time. So in total, 5 times already I've been tested, because now I'm in the process of testing my blood for antibodies to donate plasma. So it's been a lot of probing my nose with that test, and it's not very pleasant. But I'm back up and running. I'm cured. I urge people to take this serious because it's just not pleasant to incur it. But at the same time, I really want to put out a plea that we need to see, the facts for what they are. The economical impact that COVID is having on us, John. I don't know if we can withstand this shutdown for much too longer. It's becoming critical, as you can see. The market's reaction and the volatility is just so insane.
Yeah, that's for sure. And this has been a very volatile situation. But my experience, I'm looking at the market now, and we're over the immediate shock waves. Right? We had that huge monster correction there where it looked like there was no bottom. Much like the numbers are spiking up now, where it almost looks, almost starting to look like there was no top.
Yep.
But the market looks forward, and what I see from the market, they're cutting through all the noise on the left-wing media and saying, we got this thing under control, and there's going to be a couple of quarters of pain, but then after that, we're going to have significant growth because we're going to be coming from a lower number. So the whole number, percent gains in growth are going to be tremendous. And I feel like the market found a bottom in a place where the institutional and the international markets feel like they have a handle on the downside risk. And hopefully that coincides with the peak here in the U.S.
Well, here's what I'll add to that, John. I think the bottom was when we hit as low as 18,000 points for the Dow. That was very scary for me to see. I hadn't seen it as low as 18,000 points for a couple of years now, so is everyone else. But to see this rebound, I'm still not confident that we're rebounding. I think that we still have a long road ahead of us, and it's all going to depend on how long this shutdown is going to last for. I'm really concerned. The administration's put out a phenomenal package for the small business owners, and the SBA is working day in and out to make sure that relief is given to all these folks who've been affected directly through the PPE. But we need to look at this in the long term. We can help out big corporations like Delta, American Airlines, and amongst others for a very limited amount of time before we start crippling our own national debt. So what my concern is, for example, here in New York, we had a model that estimated we'd have through APACs about 144,000 hospitalizations, and that fortunately panned out to be incorrect. Whether it's due to the social distancing, the shelter in place policies that they're having us stay under, I don't know. But I know that the estimate was very off by a couple of 100,000, and I think we need to start assessing the situation moving forward. I don't know if it's prudent, to be quite honest, to maintain the shutdown as from an economical standpoint throughout the end of April. I think we should start to assess it state by state, region by region, and take in an equation. I know a few places came late to the party, and not much of a party, but like the state of Louisiana. But we need to really start assessing this so that we can rebound from this. The sooner the better. A lot of people need to get back to work out there, and I know COVID is serious. I can speak firsthand about it, but I think the cure cannot be worse than the virus.
I get that whole talking point there on the cure can't be worse than the virus, but I didn't take it as seriously at first. George,
Yep.
than I did 3 weeks ago. I moved the studio to my house. So
Yeah, yeah.
I took it serious, right? But in the same token, I feel like, well, I want to just go back to something you said in the middle there on the PPP program. I'm a participant in it for my production company and another company that I'm part of. And the banks are doing an amazing job of customer service. But FYI, not one person has got one penny on these PPP loans yet. That whatever they're saying on TV is really not true. They are approving loans, but no one has got money yet. No one.
Well,
So, that might be something you want to look into as part of your campaign is if we have the money and we have the banks that are FDIC approved to give it out, why can't we give it out?
Well, here's my spin on that. The banks were really quick to take money from us in 2008. They're approving loans left and right and putting out reports that are phenomenal. We've approved every single loan and they're not funding them. And that's hypocritical because the funding is there. They're FDIC approved. And I think we should hold them accountable. And moving forward, there should be a revision because these delays are really hurting the American people. Look, like you said, they're doing amazing jobs on customer service. Kudos to them. Trying times, keeping their institution staffed is a challenge. I understand that. But if you're just approving loans without funding them, it's just like writing a prescription for a drug that doesn't exist. So,
Well, let me
I'm
ask you
sorry.
that. Let me ask you that in your experience, because I know we're having a weird set of circumstances here in New York, and I know there's this tug of war going on with hydroxychloroquine. In your experience, did you get so acute that you had to get hydroxychloroquine, or was it
I did
offered to you?
not. I did not. I did not get to that stage. But another thing, and I'll bring that point up. I think that the FDA has already released. There's a couple of decades in study on both drugs. I'm allergic to penicillin, so I would definitely be on a Z-Pak antibiotic. God forbid I needed an antibiotic, right? That would be my default medication to go to since I can't go for penicillin derived medications such as amoxicillin. So, ironically enough, had I needed an antibiotic, it would have been Z-Pak. But with that said, I think, everybody should be on board now with the combo. We're seeing the numbers come out where it's only beneficial. There is an actual member of Congress, and I forgot her state and her district by the name of Charlene, who took the combo, and within 48 hours, she was 100% improved. And it's working, and it really shocks me that there are still states and governments that are barring the medication from being prescribed. It's a life-saving medication at this point.
I couldn't agree with you more, and it seems strange to me that if it's already allowed for off-label, that anyone would push back. I understand there's a whole testing process, but it sure seems to me that there are doctors that are putting their face out there and attesting to the fact that they're using it and it is working. So even if it has some effect on some of the people, and the people understand that they may have some serious side effects and they agree to it, then we should be giving it. That's far as I'm concerned. And I don't know why the left keeps yelling at him to fully go into the Defense Production Act, but maybe he should just go into the pharmaceutical companies and say, this is what you're making.
Yeah, I agree. I think that would be great. With him taking advantage of the act, and not only that, let's also point out to the left-wing media, well, the mainstream media, really, they blew it out of proportion so deeply that it caused hysteria across the whole country, specifically in New York City, where we're now operating a makeshift hospital that is now titled the largest hospital in America in the Javits Center. And, we have a Navy hospital ship in the middle of the harbor. We have a hospital in the middle of Central Park. And, I think we're spending a lot of money on resources that fortunately, we do not need. And we should start considering scaling back and using the money for relief purposes instead of, keeping certain functions going that are being shown to not be necessary anymore. I don't want to look like I'm jumping the gun, but I don't foresee it getting worse than it's already gotten, John. It's just the numbers don't lie. I'm a numbers guy. I've been a numbers guy for all my professional life. And, if there's one thing you can trust is that 1+1 is 1 and not 11.
Yeah, and you know what? I have been looking at a whole bunch of data from all different places and trying to put my own Wall Street analytical spin on what I see on these charts. And I was talking to a good friend of mine who's been tracking it closely, Frank Russo, and what I noticed yesterday, from yesterday to today, that the daily increase in new cases, yesterday it was up 15% day over day. Today it was up 8.6% day over day. So the growth in new cases is slowing. And then in the last 2 weeks, from March 30th, 2 weeks forward, the rate of deaths, the ratio of deaths to cases doubled in 2 weeks, okay, to 2.66. And in the next, you would think in the next week it should go to 5.32, but it's going up at very small basis point increments. So to me, it looks like we may never reach the next statistical goal of 5.3, and this could be, the government may have been right on the money with this was the peak, and we're turning down on all, like you said, these statistical numbers are pretty binary. If you see a certain thing for a while, the trend becomes the rule. Yeah,
absolutely, and there's no way around that. And look, we're fortunate. I'm not here complaining that I'm very happy that we didn't reach the numbers that we were forecast to reach, and the death toll isn't as nearly as bad as we saw Dr. Anthony Fauci say. So I think we should start preparing to move forward, partial reopening of government, and just get it done, and let's get it done fast.
All right. Well, George, I want to thank you. I don't know when you're going to get back to campaigning, but I wish you the best. And please join us again and keep us up to speed on what's going on with you and the family, and hope everyone's health is well also.
Absolutely. Just to let you know, the campaign's still going on. It's on a virtual mode now. So if you follow me on socials, Santos for Congress, and that's number 4 Congress, you'll find me with live town halls on Facebook, Twitter, and we're planning a upcoming SBA town hall next week. So it should be very interesting. We had a COVID-19 town hall last week. It was very successful. Over 525 people tuned in live. So we're keeping it going. We're doing as much as we can, granted the circumstances. But thank you very much for the opportunity to come on, John.
Tremendous. Thank you, George. Really appreciate it. That's
Bye-bye.
George Santos.